Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Friday, the 13th of December, comes to you from Sydney. And we're going to look at the targets in Bloomberg. Today, I'm going to focus on energy. Got a lot of clients who trade energy. And of course, I produce my morning reports on energy every day. So we're calling the market for the day just using the targets. So we're looking at a daily 60-minute chart for the short-term trend, and then a 10-minute chart for the trend for the day. So really quite key, and those targets are really what helps us do this. And a lot of people follow these reports, so you've got what's going to happen in the days ahead and what's going to happen in the coming hours ahead. And that is really derived from the table that I use. This is in this Bloomberg explainer. It's 90 slides long, and it goes with the video. A lot of people want to understand these targets. A lot of people using them already, but just remembering that the daily chart, we're thinking weeks ahead. The 60-minute chart, we're thinking days ahead. So back to the Bloomberg. I'm sitting here looking at crude oil, first of all. If you want to use these targets on your charts on Bloomberg, what you need to do is just go to APPS LIN Go. If you type APPS LIN Go, it will take you to the targets. You can add them onto your charts. A lot of you are already using them. It's great seeing all the questions coming in, and I'll do my best to answer the questions in Charts Today each day as we go forward. Those of you taking a trial of the targets, hopefully this just helps you get even more for them. So here we are looking at a daily chart of crude oil. This is Brent crude, and what we're seeing is the downside targets that were given. Remembering it's the selling thrust that produces this downside target, and this target wasn't met. We see that we start wandering away from targets, and that's really the power of these targets. They're derived from point and figure charts, but on a point and figure chart you don't see when the price is starting to wander from the target. Here we had another downside target. We fell below the average, and that downside target was met pretty quickly, quicker than projected. I'm using the standard projection settings of two units of time for every 1 unit of price, and the standard unit of price we use is 0.5% of the price. It's a log scale chart, produces these targets. The downside targets given here, and remember the explainer makes all quite clear. So I really do urge you, if you're using these targets, to just spend the time watching the explainer, and it will really help you understand how to use the targets to your advantage. So we had this upside target that was given here, but no sooner was that given, and then we had a downside target, so we give that more credence. We're below the average, so the downside target is the one that's grabbing our attention. And notice how we've got these levels of resistance and support. We put those on the chart automatically for you, so you can see where the trading is, and those levels are really quite key. We break to the upside, we might look to this target again. We break to the downside, and we nearly met that target. So that's really how we use it. Of course, this is the daily chart, so we're thinking weeks ahead. If I go to the 60-minute chart on Brent crude, this is on the Bloomberg 60-minute chart, the targets adjust now. They adjust to a smaller box size, and we can see here the box size is now 0.05%. Still using 2 up, 2 down for the target projection, but we're seeing here now that, and again, you can look back and see how well the targets have worked historically, but the key thing is we do have this upside target to 74.56. We had clear resistance at 74 for crude oil. If we break through that 74 level, then we would look to 74.56. Meanwhile, we've had a downside target, and that was met very, very quickly. That's why it's not bold, because it's been met. So that's really, really key. Looking at US NatGas, here I've got, again, my trajectory is 2, 2. That's the standard default setting. And we can see here targets, upside target given above the average. This is a daily chart, remember, so this was back in May. Upside targets given, that's when you're looking for upside. We then cross through the average with a downside target given. That was met pretty quickly. A little upside target given that was met, and then we made this floor at $1.50, and then we gave a new upside target. Again, these targets were met faster than 2 to 1, so I could actually just go and change those to 1. And if you're trading something a lot, and that's your focus, you really want to work out what the ratio that you should use is. But here, 2 to 1 is a good setting to start with. Now we see the targets are a little bit more clearly met, the downside and the upside targets. So that's really how you adjust the targets, and you can see That just more recently, that's how it was. Now, this is just one of a number of tools for projecting targets. And again, this is in the explainer. There's several different ways that you can actually project these targets. And there's 5 different ways of doing it. You can use historical time to target, which actually just works out literally how the targets have performed previously. So there's lots of different ways. I urge you to watch the explainer, the hour-long video with 90 slides to really get the hang of how to use the different methods for projecting the targets forward. Now this is emissions, so European emissions. Again, we notice here downside targets given, downside targets given. This is on the daily chart. So those downside targets were given and met. This one not quite met. And then we had a whole series of new upside targets. Now we're met a little bit more quickly. And if we look at the current trajectory, really quite interesting. We have got a lot of uncertainty with carbon because basically we had the upside targets and then a new downside target kicking in below the average. And again, you would go to the 60-minute chart. So if we look at the 60-minute chart, here we see how the targets, the upside target's not quite been met. That one was, but this one given way back here in November, not quite met. And then we turned more bearish late November with new downside targets. And if I zoom in on those, you can see that we have had some adverse reactions. And as a trader, it's up, you manage the trade. So if we move away from these targets, then, you accept the target wasn't quite reached. But it gives you a heads up. Very good for trade construction when you're coming to construct the trade, that you can do that. Here we see the chart for TTF. Front month. Again, last year we were getting downside targets. Downside target to February was met. We started getting new upside targets in March. That's when we told our energy clients that we were getting new upside targets and that we'd bottomed. I ran polls at the time and 75% of the market felt we were still bearish and that we hadn't bottomed, but these targets were telling us that we probably have. Now we've got a very big upside target here, but we've fallen back through the average, and this target is really only on if we can break through that 49.55, let's say 50 euros, then we would look to that. And so really quite interesting there in terms of that. And then if we go to the 60-minute chart, and here I've got my targets actually set to 0.5, because on the 60-minute chart, that is the speed at which these targets appear to be met. And so we see in November we had mostly upside targets for TTF gas, and then we crossed through December, and most of you will know we've been calling gas bearish in our morning reports for some weeks now. So that's really the key there. Now have a go with the targets. Remember, it's APPS LIN Go. Try them on your Bloomberg, see for yourself, and do watch the explainer. There's all the different rules and methods of how you interpret and understand the targets. Remembering these are derived from point and figure charts, so this is an old technique reimagined, not something that's been invented. It's just a different way of looking at the price targets on your time-based charts. And these are the different ways to project the targets forward, and you may well find that there's one that works best for you, but we recommend that you start with just that 2-to-1 ratio. It seems to work pretty well, and that's what I recommend. Have a go with the targets. APPS LIN Go. Next week I'm in Perth. I'm trading one of the biggest energy traders in Australia. In fact, soft commodity traders in Perth. I'm there for a couple of days with Beta Group. But I will be doing charts today for you all the same. Have a great weekend. Until next week, happy charting. Bye for now. Don't forget to give the targets a go. APPS LIN Go.